your friends at Smile. This is Most Clicked, a podcast about digital marketing in the higher education sector. I'm your host, Nathan Monk. I'm a co-founder at Smile. I'm joined by my other co-founder, Matt Lees, bringing you some additional insight, our long-term collaborator, Kyle Campbell. But this time we have a very special guest, all the way from the US of A. It's Joel Goodman from Bravery Media. Hi, Joel.
Hello. The magic of the internet lets me be in the UK while also still in the Midwest of the United States.
I don't know what you're on about. We're actually all in the same room and we're just in 4 different corners. So in the tail end of 2022, National University was kind of blowing up on my news feeds for various different reasons. Joel, I know you've kind of done work with National University before, so I'm wondering, would you be able to tell our audience why National University were getting some attention last year?
Well, I can speculate a little bit. First off, thanks for having me on. I'm happy to talk with y'all. It's always good to have really fun, deep conversations about what's going on in the higher ed world. So with National University, Bravery Media was contracted in 2018 to work on a website redesign for them. And essentially what happened was I was flying from Austin, Texas to San Diego, California every other week for about I think it was about 4 months initially, and it extended into 6 months with the design work that we did. And I started out just doing really heavy research into their operations, into how marketing was happening. And I was kind of serving as a de facto like director of web marketing, digital strategy. And we took all of this research and I put it into a strategy for them. And then we took that strategy and I brought it back to Texas, put it into a design team that I had here. We put some designs together, took it to National University, and then their team, also their dev team that I happened to hire while I was doing all this research, ended up building out this website. And behind the scenes, what had been happening was their vice chancellor of marketing was making moves to build an internal marketing agency. And they really pushed forward with this mentality of not outsourcing their marketing, but having all the staffing and resources that they needed in-house. And the work that Bravery did was kind of central to the formation of that agency internally. And so they were full stack. I mean, they had devs at that point. They had some designers. I think our design was better, but that's just me. There's some designers working for them. They had a whole team of social media managers and paid media advertising experts that were doing all the media buys across. They had a video team in-house. They had photographers that they were working with. I mean, it was a really well-run operation. And what National started doing was, or what the core of their strategy was they're a not-for-profit, veteran-founded university in Southern California. They really focused on adult completion programs, and making sure that when veterans got back from their tour of duty, they could finish up the degree that they maybe started, or maybe a degree that they wanted to start and never got the chance to. They wanted really flexible options, but their problem was, from an image perspective, they were competing in the for-profit space. And in the US, especially, the for-profit universities have a really horrible track record of being predatory against students that are just looking to, progress their careers or progress their learning, and just taking advantage of them financially. And National University was kind of saddled with a little bit of that image because they had played not as a for-profit, but in the for-profit space, and had tried to compete with these for-profit institutions. So they had this image problem that they needed to solve. And a lot of our work on the website was trying to make them feel more like a real, a classical, traditional sort of institution versus this really salesy, hard pushing, make as many, get as many butts in seats sort of an institution. We had to temper and kind of balance, I guess, our desire for them to look like a traditional university with actual performance. And so we did that through a lot of UX development on the site to amplify their conversion rate optimization. But a lot of what we were doing was building and designing this website to work hand in hand with all of the work that the staff in this in-house agency was doing. And that ended up being wildly successful. So we had finished our design and research work it was April or May of 2018. And then by November, they had built the site out and had launched it. We immediately increased their conversion rates by around 130%. The conversion metric they were going after was inquiries, so value that how you will in your own higher ed practice. But they did a massive increase in that practice, and then. On top of that, the numbers I was given were we generated like $8 to $10 million in new revenue for them in the first year based on those leads that we were kind of qualifying into their site. But I want to also like give them a ton of credit because they had designed this really great system of being able to take all these people that are coming into the site, sending in inquiries and following up with them immediately. So there's this routine of actual practice going on within the institution that our website design and research work just kind of help to improve and support and facilitate. And so now, like coming into 2022, they saw their website's different now. So I just want to clarify that. Like if you go to National University's website, that's not our work. I will never claim what is up there now but you'll go visit and you'll see. But the issue is that like they had just like built an engine, right? So they had this engine just running from 2018 through 2020, 2021. And I think now with, like you said, Nathan, all the stuff you were seeing in Forbes at the end of last year, I think they're just riding the wave of all this work that happened. And I kind of think it's just PR. Like I think those articles that articles and videos and things that are popping up, I think it's just PR maybe coming from their marketing office trying to continue that momentum that they built.
I mean, at the same time though, right, such significant investments into digital and online do seem to have fared them well throughout COVID times.
Definitely.
I mean, Kyle, you've written in your newsletter about universities in the US hemorrhaging money, and National University has bucked that trend by not. And I think that is through investment in digital, right?
100%. I mean, from what I understand, like before our session today, we were talking about the model of the delivery, weren't we, and how it's shorter base courses and people can stack them into fully flexible programs. I mean, what I find interesting about this, I love how you speak about UX as kind of the heart of the project we're working on, but it's that wider engine around it and everything moving in turn together. Just for our audience, I'm sure they'll be curious to what sort of UX changes you were making. So if you want to cast your mind back and highlight a few individual examples, I think people can learn a lot from those.
Yeah, so I've been working in higher education for 16, a very long time, 16 years maybe at this point. longer than I probably expected when I started. And so like I've seen, when I started out, we had websites that were, we had institutional websites that were, looked like they were from 1998 or maybe
Nice.
2005. So I think, when we first started working with National University, their website was old. So like the bar was kind of low, like any kind of improvement would have helped. But what was great was that their focus on building this internal agency allowed them to invest in a lot of testing. And so we were doing research, and then we were pitching kind of our 3 options maybe, or sometimes 4 options for what needed to happen. Now we knew that like the number one thing that their students or their prospective students visiting the site wanted to do was find out if that university had the program or degree or course that they wanted to take. And so how do we get them to that quicker? So even before we did the full redesign, we basically just like took the hero area on their homepage and we added a call to action to their program listing and immediately increased conversion rates by 30%. low hanging fruit, right? I mean, and it was, I feel like I'm not going to take credit for that. Like it's a dumb thing they could have done in house.
But you totally should, because like sometimes I think people underestimate it, because like these little changes, especially if they haven't been in place for legacy reasons, whatever. But you can make tweaks like that, and you can see massive results. And obviously, the more you make, the harder it becomes to get the exponential result. But hey, if you made the change, take the credit. It's still revenue at the end of the day, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah. So and so we like that was one of the things that we did, and we kind of built a lot of our work on top of that. So it was simple things like making calls to action contextual. So rather than just like putting a link up in your header in the top right, where most university websites have a link to request information or contact, like within the content as you're trying to make this sales pitch, like, because that's what it is, like put your call to action in context. Like maybe you made a great point and you finally convinced someone to take that action. Well, cool. Like prompt them for it. Like ask them a question. Say, hey, are you ready to talk to someone? Like, do you have questions about this? Are you ready to take the next step? And then give them that action that they can do. And I think a lot of institutions kind of forget that part of it. Like a lot of times it's very much informational. We want to tell, but occasionally you got to solicit that ask a little bit. And I think especially with the work that we did with National, their homepage, we structured the content, the on-page content strategy. So just like take the homepage as a kind of microcosm of the content strategy, working with it as a narrative that's trying to make the case for why someone should go to National University was our cause. And so we know that like programs is the very first thing, right? And the second thing is, can I afford the place? And we had to talk a little bit about how much they wanted to talk about affordability. We had a couple different minds about it. But what we ended up doing with all of these different questions, we ended up testing it. We ended up testing the hierarchy of the content, the actual narrative flow of it. We ended up testing things down to like in that hero area, do we want to have the call to action to the program finder on the left, in the center, or on the right? I mean, like right down to those minuscule things. And we found out that centering that, even though we didn't think it was visually as appealing as some of the other layouts that we presented, was producing better results. It was producing something like 3.5% more clicks, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have massive amounts of visitors coming to your site and you're trying to convert them, it can definitely add up. We tested a simple CTA versus having an actual like mini search field in the hero so that you could start typing to search for the program that you might want to take within there. We tested photography, like everything. So we did 2 to 3 different variations on it. And when we were done with our project, we also heard that they wanted to do like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, like just like massive amounts of multivariate testing. And I was like, good luck. I'll let you all handle that. If we were around for longer, maybe we would get into that side of it. But
have fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I feel like we could chat for ages on this sort of stuff. I think we'll be sure to put some links through to all of the Forbes articles that we've come across over the last couple of months. Does anybody here have any last burning questions?
I just wanted to ask, given National's success, have you seen other universities follow a similar model and build that internal marketing team?
I haven't seen very many, and I think I'm not sure if this is the same in the UK, but in the US, we go through these cycles of verticalization and then flattening out in the higher education sector here. And especially during an economic downturn, I mean, there may be a recession coming, or maybe we're in it already. Institutions tend to, well, I mean, even now you think about Great Resignation type of buzzwordy stuff. Like people are leaving the higher ed sector in droves, and so schools are starting to hire back out. Which for those of us that work at agencies, that's good. So well done to you, Matt, and you, Nathan. But like it's eventually like it'll have to flatten out at some point, and I think it's just cyclical. So right now I haven't seen very many people doing that, many different institutions doing that. I will say that like the practice at National University is inspired by a lot of other places like Southern New Hampshire University in the US, places where this has been tested out. I don't think National will ever be a mega university in the way that, say, Southern New Hampshire is, or the way that, I mean, maybe they will. I don't think they will, but maybe they will. I don't want to doubt anyone, but I think at this point, questionable decisions are being made, at least around their digital practice. But it's, there are plenty of other examples to look at in kind of the mega university world here in the States. I don't even know that an in-house agency is the right move for every institution. I doubt it is. It's a hard thing to do, and it's a hard thing to pay the types of salaries that you need to have the level of talent to do the good work. And that's kind of one of those bigger issues, I think, that higher ed's going to have to come to bear with eventually. When those folks that believed in the mission and really want to like dedicate their lives to higher ed end up realizing they also have a family to feed or have to make a mortgage payment. How do you balance all of that in a changing financial landscape? That's the more difficult part.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we're going to have to call time there, unfortunately. But Joel, thank you so much for coming on today. I think it's been really valuable and such an interesting story. If people want to reach out to you, Joel, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. You can check out braverymedia.co. That's what it is, braverymedia.co or bravery.co, whichever one you want to do. I'm not on Twitter much anymore, so you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Mastodon, which you could also find me. Questionable state of Twitter at the moment. I'm not there, but definitely on LinkedIn, just Joel Goodman. I'm Joel Goodman pretty much everywhere where I am. So you can find me pretty much anywhere. And then I also have a podcast called Thought Feeder, which we'd love for you to check out. And I'm going to plug that on your podcast.
Well, feel welcome to, because I have been listening to that for a long time. I think you recently hit like 50 episodes, right? Congratulations on 50.
Thank you.
And I shamelessly rip off your intros, but I'm not clever enough to rip off your outros, so I always make a terrible hash of them. Let's see how I get on with that this time. So thank you to all of our wonderful subscribers, and for anybody that likes our videos, thank you so much. It makes it all worth it. If you have enjoyed today's conversation, then do drop us a like below. But until next time, have a good one.